Majestic, Majestic, Majestic. If you are a newbie, a double welcome, a double welcome, a double welcome. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you are already a subby, welcome back. For those who do not know, I do have a Patreon if you're interested. All my tiers are 1 hour long, so if you're interested, the link will be down below. One tier is a ramble about my personal life, drama, etc. And there's a lot. And the other tier is my true crime. So if you're interested, I drop a video every single Sunday no matter what, and the link will be linked down below. So as you can see by the title, we are going to dive into the world of Amy Winehouse. Now, I did this video before, and honestly, I'm not sure why YouTube had blocked it or whatever. So, I decided to do things a little differently in this video, and hopefully the video will stay up. So, also to ignore all stomach sounds you hear. I always tend to record my videos in the morning, and I'm always hungry in the morning, as by now you should know. So any sound effects, it's my stomach being really disrespectful, and at this point it is what it is. So that being said, let's begin. The British soul singer Amy Winehouse was just 27 years old when she died of alcohol poisoning in her London home in 2011. She was so young. I also want to step in here and say that she was, in my eyes, a beautiful young lady. Tiny little thing. She was petite, tiny, but had this voice, this soulful jazz voice, and just by looking at her, you would never know she could sing the way she did. So, gone way too soon. Before the long downward spiral that ended with Amy Winehouse's death, the British channeled her love of soul and jazz into an electric form of pop that resonated with countless people, while the world adored songs like Rehab. I have to say, I didn't listen to any of Amy Winehouse's music. I did not. But of course, like, after her death, a lot of songs came out, and I actually gravitated towards her song Rehab for many different reasons. If you know, you know. If you don't, click that link down on Patreon. But while the world adored songs like Rehab, that smash hit also hinted at her very real struggles and substance abuse. Ultimately, her demons got the best of her, and on July 23rd, 2011, Amy Winehouse died of alcohol poisoning in her London home at just 27 years old. Very, very sad. Though people around the globe mourned this sudden loss, those who knew her best were surprised. In the end, the story of how Amy Winehouse died was tragically foreshadowed by the way she lived. I'm also gonna say here too that I also blame her entourage, but we're gonna get to that in a minute. Rehab, her song, may have set off some alarm bells in 2006, but the warning signs soon became stronger in the public eyes. As the spotlight of fame grew harsher, so did Winehouse, reliant on drugs to quiet the noise. Meanwhile, the paparazzi documented her every move, and she and her husband Blake filters were plastered across magazines. When I read this story of Amy, I don't know, I thought about Britney Spears for a minute, and then I thought about Whitney and Bobby, but you know, we're gonna just, I don't know, being a celebrity, you know, is a blessing and a curse, and I think the curse comes into play when you have people around you called yes men who don't care about your well-being. They're just there to please you, and they're there to make sure that you make money so they can make money. They don't care for your health or your well-being. They will push you and do everything just to make that extra dollar so they can make that extra dollar, right? And then you have the paparazzi. We get it. Being a celebrity, you know, you're gonna be photographed, this and that. But there's a difference between like being photographed, you know, on a red carpet, or a celebrity going to dinner or whatever. But then it becomes a problem. Like for instance, Britney Spears, when they're trying to run you off the road, they're trying to take pictures while you're driving, it becomes dangerous. The paparazzi are in your bushes and taking pictures of your kids in the school, and that's when it becomes dangerous. You know, I do believe a lot of times the paparazzi does ruin these celebrities' lives. They do, because like it says here, her every move, just like Britney Spears, her every move was documented, and probably in the news, social media, magazines. It's just sad, you know. But even before she became famous, Winehouse enjoyed drinking alcohol and smoking pot. But by the time she became an international star, she had begun to dabble in hard drugs like heroin and crack cocaine. Near the end, she was often too drunk to get on stage and perform. Again, when I found out that Amy, like, you know, like everybody else, when I found out she passed away, I did Google some of her, you know, concerts or whatever. And one thing I can say, and I remembered, that a lot of times I had no clue what she was saying. It was so, and at first I thought maybe it was the audio, because you know, back then the audio is not like how it is now. But then I noticed, I think it might have been, I may be at her worst, I'm not quite sure, and that it was because she was either, you know, drunk or high on drugs. But although I couldn't understand her, the vocals were still there though, right? Crazy. As the Academy Award-winning documentary Amy, someone told me to watch that. It was on Netflix. It's no longer there, so I did not watch the documentary. But as the Academy Award-winning documentary Amy explored, her own father once famously hesitated agree with her that, yeah, you go to rehab when you're ready. No, 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 no. And again, you have this entourage that is relying on one person. So if that one person is making everyone rich, they're not gonna, force you to go to rehab, and that's fucking sad. And that happens in a lot of the celebrities, like camp entourage, people they work with. They don't care about you, like, at all. Perhaps most devastating of all, Amy Winehouse's death came a mere month after she canceled what was supposed to be a comeback tour in order to save her own life. But at that point, it was way too late. Also here, if anyone is interested, it says there is a History Uncovered podcast, episode 26, and it is the death of Amy Winehouse, also available on iTunes and Spotify if you're interested. I don't know where the Amy Winehouse story is now being streamed, but it's not. I didn't find it on Hulu, and it is no longer on Netflix. So, alright, so as always, I could always say, how did we get here? So, Amy Jade Winehouse was born on September 14th, 1983 in London, England. Raised in a middle-class household in the Southgate area, she dreamed of becoming a beloved musician early in her life. Her father, Mitch, would often serenade her with Frank Sinatra songs, and her grandmother, Cynthia, was a former singer who nurtured the youngest bold ambitions. Winehouse's parents divorced when she was 9 years old. Watching their marriage fall apart at such a young age left a hole in her heart that she would later use brilliantly in her music. And it was clear that Winehouse wanted to make her beautiful voice heard. At the age of 12, she applied to the Sylvia Young Theatre School. I want to go somewhere where I am stretched right to my limits and perhaps even beyond, she wrote. To sing in lessons without being told to shut up. But mostly I have this dream to be very famous, to work on stage. It's a lifelong ambition. I want people to hear my voice and just forget their troubles for 5 minutes. Again, this is really, really sad because, you hear a lot of times with the celebrities from people who are not famous, oh, well, that's the price you pay for fame, and, well, they want to be a celebrity, oh, well, they wanted all that money, and I hate reading comments like that because most of the time, people who have talent just want the world to see their talent, hear their voice, see their art, whatever. And they want to help people, like she said, just to forget their troubles for 5 minutes. But a lot of times, people don't understand. With fame comes like that demon. And I'm not talking about like alcohol, drugs, and partying. When I say the demon, I mean like the tabloids, the rumors, there's everyone. And one thing Winehouse took the initiative to make her dreams come true, writing songs from the age of 14 years old and even forming a hip-hop group with her friends. But she truly got her foot in the door at the age of 16 when a fellow singer passed along her demo tape to a label that was looking for a jazz vocalist. The tape would eventually lead her to her first record deal, which she signed at the age of 19. And just a year later, in 2003, she released her debut album, Frank, to critical acclaim. Winehouse received quite a few accolades for the album in Britain, including a award, I think you pronounce it, the Ivo Novello Award. I'm not really sure about the, UK awards. But around this same time, she was already developing a reputation as a party girl. Now, this statement reminds me of Whitney Houston on the top of her game. She was the voice, this and that. And then, sadly, we started seeing her go downhill, the paparazzi, her voice. And then, the greatest singer of all had this reputation of just being a hot fucking mess. It's just sad. Sadly, the true severity of her addictions would soon emerge and skyrocket after she met a man named Blake Filder. It's funny because I know they're probably gonna blame Blake for Amy's downhill spiral, right? But it's like the same thing when it came to like Whitney and Bobby and Whitney Houston. A lot of people thought Bobby was the one who introduced Whitney to drugs, but that's so not the case. But at the end of the day, though, when you have a partner that's willing to do the same shit you do, a disaster. With the number 3 album on the British charts, Amy's dreams seemed to be coming true. But despite her success, she began to feel anxious in front of her audience, which was growing larger and larger. To decompress, she spent much of her time at local pubs. In the Camden area of London, it was there when she met her future husband, Blake. I already don't like Blake. I don't. Though Winehouse instantly fell for Blake, many were uneasy about the new relationship. Amy changed overnight after she met Blake. Her first manager, Nick Godwin, recalled, "She just sounded completely different. Her personality came more distant, and it seemed to me like she was down. She was down to do the drugs. When I first met her, she smoked weed and all, but she thought that people who took Class A drugs were stupid, and she used to laugh at them. I assume Class A drugs are anything but weed. I would assume. I never heard of drugs being Class A though. That's funny. Anyway. Blake himself would later admit that he introduced Amy Winehouse to crack cocaine and heroin. Oh God. And once you get a taste of that, it's very hard to break off. So sad. It's so sad. But the reins were truly off after Winehouse's second album, Back to Black, catapulted her to international fame in 2006. While the couple had been on and interesting, whether they're lying about it or whatever. But could you imagine though, just being a celebrity, knowing your life's a mess and always reading about it, and then seeing pictures of yourself, and then sometimes reading rumors and shit? Again, we forget celebrities are human. They bleed, they cry, they sleep, they shit, they eat, they have feelings. I think we forget that. She's only 24 years old with 6 Grammy nominations, crashing head first into success and despair with a codependent husband in jail. An exhibitionist parents with questionable judgment, and the paparazzi documenting her emotional and physical distress. Do you remember when Britney Spears literally had that meltdown that TMZ caught when she was just like smashing her car, and then she like, shaved her head? The paparazzi can really probably drive you crazy. Again, like it says here, documenting her emotional and physical distress. They're documenting her downward spiral, and they're fucking enjoying it. Crazy. While Back to Black explored substance abuse, it also revealed WINEHOUSE's refusal to go to rehab, which her own father apparently supported, which is so fucked up. Because if anyone knows my story, let me shut up. If you want to know my story, go to Patreon. But I could not see my parents supporting me on not going to rehab. Like, what? If anything, they will be forcing you, begging you. Anyway, her own father apparently supported this decision, continuing to work was seemingly more important and making money at that time. That notion was supposedly confirmed when the album became her most successful and saw her win 5 of her 6 Grammys she was nominated for. Again, that song Rehab is really interesting. I gravitated towards it. It can make you mad, but I also get it, if that makes sense. So anyway, out of the 5 awards she won, out of the 6 she was nominated for, she wasn't able to attend the 2008 ceremony in person. By that point, her legal troubles had hampered her ability to obtain a U.S. visa. She had to accept the award from London via remote satellite. In her speech, she thanked her husband, who was then in jail, for assaulting a pub landlord and attempting to bribe him to not to testify. Yikes. That same year, her father claimed that she had emphysema due to crack cocaine abuse. That's basically like a lung disease, basically. It was later clarified that she had early signs of what could lead to emphysema rather than the full-blown condition herself. The downward spiral was in full swing, though she reportedly kicked her drug habit in 2008. Alcohol abuse continued to be an ongoing problem from her. Eventually, she did end up going to rehab on multiple occasions, but it never seemed to take. At some point, she also developed an eating disorder, and by 2009, Amy Winehouse and Blake had officially divorced. Meanwhile, her once bright star appeared to be fading. She canceled shows after show after show, including a highly anticipated Coachella performance. By 2011, she was hardly working. what city she was in. Before long, the audience of 20,000 people who was booing her louder than the music was then forced off stage. So could you imagine? This was her comeback tour. This was supposed to be it. Again, it reminds me of Whitney Houston. Remember Whitney had like this comeback tour and she sounded horrible. She had no voice. The crowd was booing her. She walked off. She canceled shows. Same thing with Amy. She had this comeback tour 2011. It was a total disaster. She was clearly intoxicated, couldn't remember the words to her songs or even what city she was in. Before long, an audience, could you imagine, of 20,000 people who was there to support her began booing louder than the music. And then she was forced off stage. No one knew it then, but that was the last show she would ever perform. That's sad. In the meantime, Winehouse doctor Christina, I think her last name is Romete, had been trying to get her into psychological therapy for months. But according to Dr. Christina, Winehouse was opposed to any sort of psychology therapy. So Dr. Christina focused on her physical health and prescribed her Librium to handle alcohol withdrawal and anxiety. I do remember too, I also read too, that the doctor was telling her that she had to take the Librium to handle the alcohol withdrawal. See, one thing people don't understand is that when you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, you just can't stop drugs cold turkey. You cannot. It can put your body into shock. It can put your body into severe seizures. It can just be a complete disaster, right? In Amy's Winehouse situation, she would have severe life-threatening seizures because of her alcohol drinking. And that's something that the doctor was telling her, that she needed to take her medication for the alcohol withdrawal or it would cause seizures. And I do believe her father even said that, she had a lot of scary ones, seizures, all because of the amount of alcohol she was consuming. Sadly, Amy was unable to commit sobriety. She would try to stay away from drinking for a few weeks and take her medicine as directed. Sobriety is probably the hardest thing to do when you're in the public eye. It really, really is. She would try to stay away from drinking for a few weeks and take her medicine as directed, but Dr. Christina said she kept relapsing because she was bored and genuinely unwilling to follow the advice of doctors. Winehouse called Dr. Christina for the last time on July 22nd, 2011, the night before she died. The physician remembered that the singer was calm and somewhat guilty, and that she specifically said she did not want to die. During the call, Winehouse claimed that she had attempted sobriety on July 3rd, but she had relapsed just weeks later on July 20th. After apologizing for wasting the doctor's time, Winehouse said what would be one of her last goodbyes. That night, Winehouse and her bodyguard Andrew stayed awake until 2 a.m. watching YouTube videos of her earlier performances. Andrew remembered that Winehouse was laughing and in good spirits during her final hours. At 10 a.m. the next morning, he tried to wake her, but she appeared to are squeaking. It's him walking around. It was around 3 p.m. on July 23rd, 2011, that Andrew realized that something was off. It was still quiet, which seemed strange, he recalled. She was in the same position as in the morning. I checked her pulse, but could not find one. Amy Winehouse had died of alcohol poisoning. In her final moments, she was alone in her bed with empty vodka bottles scattered on the floor beside her. The coroner later noted that she had a blood alcohol level of 0.416, more than 5 times the legal limit for driving in England. After a long-time struggle with alcoholism, Amy Winehouse was a member of the Tragic 27 Club, a group of iconic musicians who died at the age of 27. And it's so sad that we even have a club like this. Her death left her family, friends, and fans saddened, but not necessarily surprised. Years later, her own mother even said that she was never meant to live past 30. I also remember, I don't know when I watched it, but I also remember interviews from Amy, and I remember her saying that she wasn't going to live past 30. I know she wasn't really interested in having kids because that meant she had to stay sober. She wouldn't be a good mom. I don't know, like, I don't know how to say it. Like, she had, you ever met somebody that was in good spirits but was like 100% honest with themselves? She knew she had problems. She knew it. She knew it. She didn't deny it. And she knew the life she lived was not one for a child. She knew she wasn't going to live past 30. And like I said, I've heard her say it, and it's sad. It's sad, it's sad, it's sad. It's like, you know, when Tupac was telling her, anyway. Shortly after the news hit the stands, fingers were pointed in every direction. Some cast the blame on Winehouse's father, Mitch, who once famously said and admitted his daughter didn't need to go to rehab. He later changed his mind. In the 2015 documentary Amy, he is shown on film saying something eerily similar. But in an interview with The Guardian, he claimed the clip was edited. Yeah, I absolutely 100% believe that her father did not want her going to rehab, because that would have dampered on his money. And you know, just, you can't have yes men around you all the time. I just can't. And wasn't it like Britney Spears' father who was like stealing her money? And anyway. Oh, and now the father has actually a quote. Let's read this bullshit. He said it was 2005. Amy had fallen. She was drunk and banged her head. She came to my house and our manager came round and said she got to go to rehab. But she wasn't drinking every day. She was like a lot of kids, going on binge drinking. And I said, she doesn't need to go to rehab. In the film, I'm relating the story, and what I said was, she didn't need to go to rehab at that time. They edited me out saying that, listen, it's the ones who enable are the ones who are hurting the ones that need help. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, then he said, we've all made mistakes. You know, Mitch Winehouse admitted, but not loving our daughter was not one of them. And truthfully speaking, you know, parents who do enable their kids, I don't think, you know, it's because I believe he loved his daughter. A lot of times people don't know also blamed for her demise. In a rare TV interview in 2008, Blake pushed back on this. He claimed that the role of drugs in the relationship was heavily exaggerated by the media. So what he's saying is their drug habit wasn't that bad, but it was the media who blew it out of proportion, as well as his role in her downfall. So of course he's not gonna admit that, he could have helped more, of course not. But I feel I am the only person that's taken responsibility and has done since she was alive, he said. But he was the one who introduced her to crack cocaine and heroin. I felt that maybe since the last film about Amy came out about 2 years ago, the documentary, there's been a certain shift in the blame to other parties. But before that, pre that, and probably still now, I'm the only person that's taking any responsibility. So I guess what he's saying is he is taking responsibility for his actions, because again, we remember that she only liked to smoke weed, pot, whatever you want to say. And, now he's saying, I shouldn't be the only one being responsible for her downfall, At the end of the day, though, the person who's doing the drugs is at fault. But when you have other people around you joining you, enabling you, you're just making it easier for that person. And the longer they go down that rabbit hole, the harder it is to pull them back. And then overall, finally, others blame the media, which often portrayed Winehouse as a troubled diva at best and a train wreck at worst. One fan mused, "We saw her deteriorate every single day in pictures. It was like we were on a journey with her. So many people just wanted her to get her better." Again, these are the two I have to compare to. We watched Whitney Houston go downhill. Do y'all remember? I will never forget that she had this, I think it was like Michael Jackson's 50th anniversary, birthday, something like that. And she came out and she looked like a skeleton, and it was on every tabloid. And I'm saying to myself, good God, we watched this train wreck. We watched the demise. We watched. If you sit here and think about it, we watched a lot of celebrities demise. We watched a lot of them deteriorate right in front of our eyes. We watched this shit happen. Because again, it's plastered everywhere. How could we not? And now, like with social media, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, forget it. Anyway, to close out, a close friend of Amy's summed up like this: "Yes, she did this to herself. I agree. Yes, she was self-destructive, but she was also a victim too. We all have to take a bit of responsibility as the public / the paparazzi. She was a star, but I want people to remember that she was also just a girl." I need to repeat this paragraph because I think this is what I was trying to say. At the end of the day, it was her taking the drugs, right? She was doing it to herself. But who introduced her to the drugs and who kept it going? So everyone needs to take accountability for their actions. But a close friend of Amy's summed it up like this: "Yes, she did this to herself. Yes, she was self-destructive, but she was also a victim too. We all have to take a bit of responsibility as friends, family, us, the public, the fans, and the paparazzi. She was a star, but I want people remember that she was also just a girl.